Hey guys, do you find it really hard to find trouser patterns that actually fit your unique measurements? Apparently this is quite a common complaint and something that we wanted to, let's say, resolve. So we've spent the last 2 years working on a solution. We've created a series of trouser and jeans patterns, or basic blocks, that are automatically drafted using Pattern Lab software to fit your exact measurements. To showcase this new range of made-to-measure, let's say, trouser blocks or basic blocks, we asked a group of women to help us test the fit and give us their honest and true feedback when it came to the finished product. So let's get started. Okay, Debbie, thank you so much for coming in. It's a real pleasure to meet you. So once again, for this project, we just kind of want to speak to a few different women and kind of understand the kind of, let's say, fit issues they have when it comes to like buying trousers or commercial trousers. So do you have any like issues you've faced in the past?
Yeah, there's like definitely, because I'm quite tall, but my body is longer than my legs. If I buy tall trousers, the legs are usually way too long for me. Okay. And then also my waist is much smaller than my hips, so I have a lot of gape when I can find stuff that fits my hips properly. So. Okay, yeah. Fantastic.
I mean, as I said, it's quite a common problem basically that you get with this whole like gaping at the back, or the hip and the waist ratio is slightly different with everyone, and also like the torso length as well. So hopefully we can obviously take your unique measurements and we can obviously draft a pair of trousers that are suited to fit your measurements exactly. So we should get rid of a lot of these issues.
Amazing.
So what we'll do next is we'll basically get you in some, let's say, leggings or something that's bodycon, and then we'll take your measurements so we can kind of like start drafting your trousers from there.
Sounds great.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay, so before I take your measurements, it's really important to mention that obviously we need the right kind of, let's say, garments or attire. So leggings and like a nice loose fitting top that's obviously quite thin is very important. If you were, let's say, wearing like a thick heavy jumper or woolen jumper or like jeans and we measured you, we would get slight inaccuracies in the measurements, so it's really important that we have something that's quite bodycon. Also, we've isolated the waist just so when we take our measurements like waist to hip and waist to floor, we always are going from the same location and it doesn't move around. So I'm just going to take about 7 or 8 measurements and then we should be able to draft the trousers in the lab.
Great.
Cool. So first we take the waist, hip and waist to hip measurements. These are 3 really important measurements that will control the fit of the trousers around Debbie's lower torso. Debbie mentioned that the waist on commercial trousers is often too large compared to her hip measurement. This is mainly due to the pattern being based on standard size charts, which of course does not reflect Debbie's measurements at all. So next we have the waist to floor. This is also a very important measurement for Debbie, since she mentioned commercial trousers being slightly too long. Next we have the knee and ankle measurements. These measurements are used to calculate the amount of ease required to draft the width of the trouser leg. And finally the body rise. This controls the depth and curvature of the crotch. Okay, fantastic. So now that we have all of your measurements, I'm now going to head on over to the Mac. I'm going to open up the Pattern Lab website. We're going to enter your measurements into the system and then obviously start drafting your very bespoke or made-to-measure pair of trousers, which is probably like the most exciting part of this whole process. So hopefully soon we should have some samples or a trouser sample ready to fit you, and then we can do the fitting and it should be quite exciting to see the results. Cool. All right. Okay, so here we are in the lab. Just brought up the lab website. This is our homepage, as you can see, looking lovely. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the profile menu item. And then in the profile tab, I'm just going to simply click create new. And here I'm just going to name it Debbie May 21 test, for example. Click centimeters. You can choose inches as well and just click go. And this will bring up our measurements. And these are all the measurements we're going to need when it comes to drafting in the lab. However, I don't need all of these measurements to draft the trousers, so I'm just going to simply click on this tab, Trousers, and that will give us all the measurements we need to draft Debbie's block, and I'm just going to simply start adding them. Before I do that, it's just something really important to mention. So if you click on this little eye icon just here, it'll bring up a measurement tutorial that shows you how to take that measurement, and also like a handy diagram and some text as well. This applies to every single one of these measurements, so if you're not sure how to take these measurements, just simply click on the eye and it will give you some information. Okay, let's start entering her measurements. Great stuff. So now we've entered the measurements. I'm simply going to click Draft Block, which will take us into the lab. And as you can see, we have the trousers already selected. Let me just clear the selection quickly. And let's just choose the profile. We're going to go to Debbie May test, or May 21 test. I'm going to click on the trouser block because this is the one that we're actually working on at the moment. As you can see, it's already started to draft her block. Let's click Next. I'm going to go for the relax fit because we're using the same fit for all of the women that are participating in this trial, let's say. And when I click on the relax fit, it gives you all the various eases that are used to draft this block. So we have waist, hip, body rise, knee and ankle. At the moment we have a waist ease of 0.5, hip of 1.1, body rise is 0, and knee ease is 19.7, and ankle is 28.1. You can obviously make this even smaller if you want to make this 0. That will be a much far snugger fitting block, and same with the hip and all of these. You can change the style of the knee and the ankle, etc. But we're going to stick with the standard just at this point in time because we've done it for the same for all the girls and we just want to test the fit. Also, if you click on the advanced tab, you'll see that we have a whole bunch of other options that you can actually use to customize the fit of your blocks or your trousers. So we have custom darts, and if you click the read more, it'll show you a handy diagram that shows you which measurement applies to which part of the block, and you can change these values. Same with custom arc measurements, crotch extensions, and also the front and back rise. And we're going to do a little tutorial that shows you how to use these separate to this video series. So I'm just going to remove the advanced, and we're going to stick with exactly this relaxed, preloaded, let's say, style. Next, we're going to go to, let's click next, which go on to length. I'm going to go to high waist, and we're going to go to floor. We can choose ankle, crop, knee, thigh, whatever you prefer. And you can even enter your custom length in here as well, which is really handy. And we measure this from the waist to the finished length of the trouser. So you can always do this while you're measuring your, let's say, your model or your customer or your friend, for example. And let's just click next. And I'm going to go for the front. Now, obviously, the low waist options have been grayed out because we're not using the low waist. And it's actually a different pocket style with the low waist and the high waist. I'm just going to go for the high waist. I'm going to click on the slash pocket. And then we're going to click next. I'm going to go for patch pockets on the back. Let's go next. And we're going to go for, okay, we're going to go for the standard, which is the external waistband with fly. We can use other options like internal waistband or no waistband at all, or even external waistband without a fly. And then we can also change the waistband depth if we so choose, which is really handy. I'm just going to click next, and as you can see, all of these pattern pieces that we've selected have now been added to our draft. Let's click next. And now we can simply add a reference. So for example, we could type in here Debbie trouser fitting trial, and it will obviously add that to the name of your finished pattern in the library, so you can search it easily. But we also have two options. You can download it as a multi-page PDF document. So your full-scale pattern is then separated up into lots of different pages, whether it be A4, A3, A2, A1, A0, or even US letter. You also have the option which is to download the fully editable block. So if you have an SVG editing software such as Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape or CorelDRAW, for example, you could then simply download this pattern and you could then edit this pattern digitally in one of these software applications. And you could even take a look at our, let's say, digital pattern cutting tutorials, which we have. They're all completely free and they show you how to use Adobe Illustrator as a digital pattern cutting platform. It's really helpful. Anyway, I'm just going to go for the simple draft because I don't make any changes to this block. I just want to print it out and start constructing this in our finished fabric. So I'm just click save and download. Now this would normally take you to the payment screen, but obviously I'm an admin user, so this is just going to take me straight to my library or to the lab. The library where obviously you can view that pattern. So once you finish your purchase, it'll then take you to this screen. And once again, so on the right hand side, we have seam allowance. So we have 1 cm seam allowance on the whole of the pattern, and we have 2 cm on the side seam. Now I'm just going to change that to become 1, but you also have the option here to, it's just going to redraft it. Voila. You also have the option to do inches as well if you prefer, and you can also have none. It's completely up to you. And also, so we have edit our measurements, so we can click on this and we can go back in to edit the measurements we use to actually draft this block. So we can change the waist, we got it wrong, we can change the hip ever so slightly. Let's just click done. And then here, let's just draft it once more. And then we have our different PDF A4 layouts. So at the moment we're on A4, we have A3, A2, A1, and we also have A0 and US letter, etc. But I'm just going to go for A4 because I have an A4 printer at home. And then basically here you can see how many pages it's going to take to print this pattern out. Now, we can definitely save some space here. So I'm just going to simply click and drag these around, and the board expands depending on where you place these, you see. And I'm just simply going to start to rearrange these. Let's move that into the top corner. We can take this panel, put it in here. And this one, so if you hold down the shift key, and click and drag, hold down the shift key, click and drag, it then allows you to rotate your pattern piece, which is really helpful. So we can really get a quite close fit. And just make sure no patterns are overlapping. So we'll move those out. And we can start to now basically place these. And I'm going to speed this process up because it might take a little bit of time, but essentially I'm just trying to get the very, very best optimal layout when it comes to the amount of paper. Okay, I think we're done. I think that's probably the best I'm going to get. Just going to make sure no patterns are overlapping or falling off the pages, which looks pretty good. So next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply click Save Layout, and that will mean that we're going to save this A4 layout. So if I click on A3, none of the information is lost. If I click back A4, you can see it's the existing layout that we had before, which is great. Next I'm going to click Download PDF A4. And as you can see, we have our A4, our full scale pattern, which has been separated up into A4 pages. We have our scale along the top here, we have our cut lines and our registration marks, and we have it in a whole bunch of different pages, which is really helpful. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to simply right click on this and save as, and then desktop, and we can call this Debi Trouser Block. Oops, Trouser Block. Click Save to my desktop, and it's saved as a PDF document. We can now close down the lab. And here is our pattern. And I'm just going to double click on this pattern just to check. And as you can see, we have all the various different pages looking really good. I'm now going to hit Control P to print. And then here I'm just going to make sure it's black and white so we're not wasting any printer ink. Scale, we're going to make this 100%. So not scale to fit, it must be 100%. Otherwise your pattern pieces will print out slightly larger or smaller. So if it's smaller scale, then it'll be smaller pattern pieces, and if it's larger scale, they'll be much larger, which means it's not going to fit your body. And now, what I'm doing is I'm simply click print. We're going to print this out, piece this together, and start laying this on our fabric to start making the sample for Debi, which is quite exciting. Cool. And here is our finished pair of trousers, which took us roughly about 4 hours to make, out of that lovely crepe material. So we just now need to get our model in for a fitting tomorrow, and then we'll just chuck these in the trouser press just to give them a little bit of time in there just to make sure they're absolutely perfect for the shoot tomorrow. But all in all, quite happy with the construction, so yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so as you can see, we finally made like a sample of your trousers, obviously from that initial draft and your measurements. So based on sort of like the first initial draft, how do you feel about the fit and generally the kind of issues we talked about in your interview?
Yeah, like I think they're really great actually. They feel very comfortable around the waist, which isn't the problem. There's no gaping, and the length feels really comfy.
Okay, fantastic. That's brilliant. I mean, to be fair, like, as I said, so this is it's a raw draft, so we haven't done any alterations outside of Pattern Lab. It's literally you put your measurements in, and it's what we've kind of come out with. What I would say is possibly the body rise is slightly too long, so we could always higher this a little bit. And also the leg or the thigh is maybe a little bit too wide as well, but we could also reduce that just by the front and back crotch extension. But apart from that, I think as a first draft, like, yeah, I'm pretty happy. And I think just with a few alterations, we could get it really, really perfect. Let's see the back a little bit. Yeah, just lift it up. So once again, I mean, it's a pretty decent fit over the back. There's no real rippling, so I wouldn't really raise it or lower the back rise. It looks pretty decent. But yeah, as a first draft, I'm really happy.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Debi, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a real pleasure working with you, and I'm really glad that we got something that, you know, generally fits quite well as a first draft, so I'm really happy with that. Okay, so you have a photo shoot literally in like a couple of seconds. I'm just going to chat to these guys for literally a minute, but once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, so not a bad first draft after all. As I mentioned, we've got a photo shoot coming up, so please stay tuned to watch that if you'd like to see the finished result of all of our hard work. In the meantime, I just want to mention this product is now live on the patternlab.london website. So if you want to create a really beautiful pair of fitted trousers or well-fitting trousers, simply head on over to the patternlab.london website, create a profile, add your measurements, and then start drafting your trouser block in the lab. It's really, really that simple. Also, if you've learned something new or found inspiration from this project or from this video, then please feel free to leave us some comments in the comment section. It's really fun to hear your feedback, your inspiration, like your ideas. It kind of really brings life to the projects that we work on. Anyway, in the meantime, let's head on over to the photo shoot and see the finished result of all of our hard work. Once again, a massive, huge thank you to Debbie for coming in and working with us on this project. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we have 6 other women that participated in this project. So if you want to get access to all 6 of those individual videos, then please make sure you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on your notifications. We have got loads more content coming your way and would hate for you to miss any of it. Also, please check our Instagram page. We've got loads of backstage video snippets and also loads of photos from the photo shoot, which we haven't released anywhere else. Finally, thank you so much for watching this video or tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure making these videos, and it's always great to hear your comments and your feedback, so get commenting below. Finally, take care guys, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.